Welcome to the Herd Mentality Podcast, an eclectic weekly mix of atheistic and humanistic conversations with complete strangers. I've never met them and they've never met me, but we're throwing caution to the wind, taking a risk with a dodgy internet connection, and God willing, get an interesting conversation for you to listen to. I'm your host, Adam Reeks, and it's time to meet our guests. Welcome to the Herd Mentality Podcast. We have a fine selection of heathens today. We have Mr. Oz Atheist from Australia. Welcome.
Thank you.
We have the Godless Spell Checker from the other side of the world. Hello.
Hello, fellow heathens.
And we have an interesting guest who's I'm hoping going to take control of the entire call and negate the need for me to even be here. Who are you?
Hello, I'm Ricky Gervais and I'm calling from London.
Welcome, guys. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, so,
Pleasure.
Look, the first question, I'm just going to throw it right over to you guys. Why Twitter and why do you follow each other? Donovan.
I have just a regular Twitter account where it's kind of very Melbourne-centric where I live, and I got into a couple of debates there with a couple of theists, and my mentions were filling up with that, and I didn't want it to, so I created Mr. Oz to just focus on that, because I like arguing the subject, and I like talking to a theist and explaining what an atheist actually is compared to what they think it is, which is one of the things I like doing most. And yeah, just followed other atheists, and yeah, it grew from there.
Took it from there, and Godless Spell Checker.
Yeah.
I think if you're talking of subject matter that's just ripe for humour, it's got to be religion. And I think that perfect blend of debate and ridicule and humour just perfectly conducive to social network. Twitter's amazing. It's just a laugh a minute. Sometimes it's a little bit depressing. You know, it's incredible that you can engage with somebody who's sat hundreds of miles away and have a little back and forth about which imaginary friend you believe in.
And Ricky?
I agree. I think Twitter's quite incredible, really. There's good and bad. You know, it's sort of shown me what I already sort of suspected, that most people are idiots and mad and angry and want to scream out of a window, I am here. But it's only a conduit for that. You know, there's crazy people on the high street and you have to go there. And, you know, yeah, I think Twitter maybe is like another huge toilet wall to scroll on. There's good and bad graffiti. Banksy is a graffiti artist, and, you know, they're amazing. I follow philosophers and, you know, thinkers, and then you get tweets from people who are definitely they've got a muzzle on and they've somehow got hold of a pen in prison. You know what I mean? They're one step away from eating Agent Starling's face. But you can talk to them from the comfort of your Hampstead mansion. This is why I love Twitter most of all. And as an observational comic, you know, you do either have to get out there in the world or guess. Whereas with Twitter, I don't have to guess and I don't have to get out there in the world. You know, and it's so fast. It's like watching evolution through, you know, bacteria and virus. It's 10 times fast. It's just the snapshot is a proper sample. It's no longer like I've had 3 letters, so I'll extrapolate. I'll times them by 1,000. I mean, I get thousands of tweets a day. It does represent all walks of society, really. There's nothing that makes you a Twitter follower or not. So, yeah, and why atheism? Well, no reason, really. It catches my eye. I think it's the thing, genuinely, the thing that inflames the most, which I am surprised about. It's the misunderstandings. And if we don't just talk about atheism, we'll go through all the misunderstandings of what an atheist is and the difference between atheism, agnosticism, and all this. I really want to talk about that because that's fascinating. The strangest thing is that with religion is, I think the greatest trick with religion wasn't particularly making people believe there was a deity that created the earth in 6 days. You know, that's and you can go to heaven. That's quite an attractive thing. The strange thing is that this myth that religion is not to be ridiculed. I don't know how that happened, and there seems to be an impasse, really, that whatever you can talk about with freedom of speech, there is this myth that no, you shouldn't really ridicule someone's beliefs. Well, it depends what the beliefs are, you know, and they really don't understand how hypocritical and circular they are. I've had things like everyone's entitled to their beliefs, so shut up about being an atheist, which is beautiful. I mean, that's sublime. And all ideas are there to be criticised and ridiculed. You know, everyone has the right to believe anything, and everyone else has the right to find it ridiculous. And I can't seem to get that across.
I think being an atheist adds to humour because you see that life is finite. And John Cleese is a wonderful example of this. He has a very bitter view on the world around him. I think it makes him very funny, but it's a very realistic view.
Yeah, that's the other thing as well. A question I get. I mean, we should do our top 10 sort of strange, odd questions. But one is, if you don't believe there's an afterlife and no God, well, there's two. I've thought of two. One is, we've all had this one. If there's no God, if you don't believe there's any God, why don't you just go around raping and killing as much as you like?
Yeah.
Well, the answer is we do. We do go around raping and killing as much as we like.
Yeah, I've had to take a break today. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, which is naught, because we're people as a part of society who. And the other thing is, what's the point in living then?
Yeah,
What? What do you mean?
If you're an atheist, why don't you kill yourself now?
Well, the opposite is surely the opposite question would be better, wouldn't it? Well, if you think you're going to, yeah, it's strange, but to think, and that's just because we've decided it's finite. So just because they think we know that we've got these 70 years and 10 on this earth, that because it's not forever, let's just stop it now, which is a very strange attitude. If something ends, it's worthless. So there's no point in reading a great book any more than reading a crap book, because they both end. So they're both worthless. Go on.
I was going to say, I had this discussion with somebody on a previous episode, and he said, when people do go to heaven, how old are they there? What form do they take? Because I wouldn't like to see my grandmother in heaven in her current form, because she's not well.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, it's a house of cards, isn't it? I mean, any time you question anything based on an irrational religious belief, it crumbles. And all they have to do is make this strange web even more good. These aren't maniacs we're talking about. These are smart people who brought up believing that, there's a God and that's it. That's done. This is dogma. This is not to be questioned. There is a God. So they make everything fit around that. And of course it can't. So there comes a point where they have to say, well, that's what I believe, which is fine. That doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me. Spirituality, any belief doesn't bother me. But it's when it affects you, of course, and when it affects other people. And I know there's a huge difference between nice, normal people who are brought up Christian or whatever, going to church and, and doing everything else just like we do, believing in God, and people who tell their 5-year-olds that they will burn in hell if they are gay. Now, there's a huge difference between those two people, so it's almost no point in talking about the crazy fundamentalists. I mean, most religious people I know hate those as much as we do. So let's talk about normal people. Now, the strange thing is, do you know what I mean? Not normal people who may believe. It's still a house of cards, because if they say things like, well, what happened before the Big Bang, and you say nothing, they go, well, that's ridiculous. But yet they're willing to, they don't ask the question, what happened before God? They say, well, he's always been around. I want to go, well, that's not fair. You can't have that. You can't have he's always been around, and I can't have there was nothing before the Big Bang. Let's have a bit of fairness in this discussion.
It's like they've got their set of rules, and we say, "Oh, but what about the no? They don't apply to my God." Well, okay, I can't argue with you now. Like,
when it comes to it, there is no point discussing philosophically with someone who believes these things. All bets are off, because it's magic.
Well,
so you can't. You know what I mean? You can't say God can do anything. God can do it. I mean, God actually makes a terrible fictional character, because he can do anything. Once he can turn back time and he knows everything, it's you go, well, this film's over. He's got no kryptonite. I think it now. Which one of you was it when the Pope tweeted, "If you don't do this, you're ruining God's plan"? One of you tweeted back, "I can ruin God's plan?" ?
Yeah, that was me. Yeah,
but it's such a great thing, isn't it? That I can outwit this all-powerful being. That's brilliant.
I thought, what the hell are you talking about?
You see the Americans complaining that God's being equally kicked out of schools as well.
Oh, sad face.
Yes,
so,
of course, yeah. But it's so funny, isn't it? Because, there was a shooting in the school, and obviously they use it as their own agenda. And it's transparent. Again, normal people know that's a ridiculous thing to say. You're forcing your hand through a terrible, terrible tragedy, which is awful. But, no, there was no preacher coming out after the Boston bombings going, this is because God's been kept out of marathons. It's just...
He doesn't really target
ludicrous.
marathons, does he, God? I mean, he usually targets the odd volcano.
Yeah.
When
he's in the tornado belt.
Yes, well, that was brought about by homosexuals getting married, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, again, why can't I don't know the rules. I mean, we almost this podcast fails in the sense that really we need someone here who's an authority to answer all our questions.
We haven't got God. We've got the next best thing, godless spell checker.
Exactly, which is my first and favourite account. I didn't know how he did it when I first saw it. I thought, because I was new to Twitter, and I thought, that's amazing. He's already restricted himself, right, by finding people who spell atheist wrong, and then he's coming back with these devastating, fantastic jokes, and I thought, this is great, and then from him I found Mr. Oz Atheist and a handful of others. My other favourite account is Tweet of God.
Oh yes,
he's great. It's great. I'm so jealous because it's so perfect.
See, I'd love to have him on one day. Ricky, if you wanted to come on again, if I could get God to come on this call. Oh golly gosh, what a meeting of minds.
Yeah, no, he's great.
He's hilarious. You retweet every second one of his tweets.
He did one the other day. It just said, I am so fucking mental.
Does what it says on the tin.
Oh dear. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about is, I touched on it, this trendy belief that the only rational way to be is agnostic. First of all, I can't get it across that agnosticism and atheism are not mutually exclusive. There's a category mistake there. Agnosticism deals in what we know, right? Atheism deals in what we believe. Okay, so technically, we'd have to admit we don't know whether there is a God or not, right? But if you want to wear that as your only badge, I'm agnostic, you have to be agnostic about Father Christmas, fairies. You have to be agnostic about whether if you jump out of a window this time, you will hit the ground again, okay? Because we don't know that. We don't know the sun will rise tomorrow. So in context, we're looking at all the evidence. We have to have a little leap of faith and say that there's absolutely no evidence for any God ever. So now, what do we believe? Do we go for, well, I believe there is one then, or I won't believe? And that's another subtle point. Atheism, we all know this, I know I'm preaching the converted here, but atheism isn't the belief that there is definitely no God. It's simply not having the belief in a God. Again, people don't get that. They think that's like really splitting hairs or trying to be unnecessarily intellectual. Tell me why people don't understand that. It's different.
I wish I could. If I could tell you that, I'd shut down my account. I wouldn't need it anymore.
I think people see sort of admission of not knowing. I suppose it's intellectual honesty, but people see it as some sort of concession. Where I think the problem is, with us being intellectually honest enough to say, well, yeah, we don't know. People see that as some sort of concession.
It's a weakness.
And I don't think people like to admit what they don't know. And I think it's a beautiful thing to say there's so much we don't know.
But so many people, and while you've brought it up on the topic, so many people have two ways of viewing the world. So you might have, say, a lawyer who is quite professional, uses the evidence around him to create a case, and off he goes. And in his professional life, he has one worldview, but when it comes to his belief system, he's got another entirely. And these people have the ability to just drop a realistic worldview and pick up an unrealistic one instantaneously. I don't have that valve. I don't understand.
Well, no, that's the thing. What I'm saying is, because everyone's agnostic, everyone is agnostic. So let's forget it. It's not interesting. It's not an interesting term. We are all agnostic. So now, what do you believe? This is the only way to be. Agnosticism it's cancelled out. It's cancelled out by everyone being agnostic. We don't know. Just like we don't know if we throw a ball up this time, it will land or just hover there. We don't know. We have to test it. One's about knowledge, one's about belief. What do you believe? I believe when I throw the ball up, it'll come down. That's what I believe, based on every other experience I've had in the physical world. So that's my belief system. What do I know? We don't know. We don't know this time. And they can't see that because they feel there's an arrogance to it, that we're equating belief in God with that leap of irrational faith, as opposed to it's the natural leap. And And it's funny as well because if I'm talking to someone who claims they're an agnostic, and there's a big body of very, very smart, intellectual people who are angry. They're annoyed at atheists saying they're atheist. Again, because they've made this category mistake that, one's about knowing and one's about belief. So they say, no, the only natural route is agnostic. And I change the question for them because if you ask someone, is there a God, right, an answer, a good answer and a valid answer is, I don't know. That's fine. So you have to change the question to, do you believe there's a God? And then, I don't know doesn't make any sense at all. Because you go, what do you mean you don't know what you believe? And again, I had a discussion, and I go, well, because I have no knowledge to base that on. I go, no. I'm asking you, what do you believe? And they said, no, but that's like saying over the phone, you saying, am I wearing a red jumper? And I say, I don't know. But then you say, yeah, what do you believe? I still can't believe anything. And I went, yeah, okay, that's fair enough. But now I'm going to say, do you believe I'm wearing a red jumper that created the Earth in 6 days?
That's a big job.
yeah. This is what we're talking about. Really.
Yeah, I think when the response is, I don't know that there is a God, one of the things that I heard in a presuppositional apologetics podcast earlier called The Barroom Atheists, I suggest you check it out, it's awesome, is he really drills it into people and says, is there a God? I don't know, but I don't care, because the outcome doesn't change. It's all irrelevant.
Well, of course, yeah, exactly. If there is a God, he's not doing anything, he's not getting involved, and, his mysterious ways, what's the difference between a God that moves in mysterious ways randomly and no God at all?
Just makes him look like an arsehole.
We think we know. We think our tiny little leap of faith from there being absolutely no evidence for a God, therefore we don't believe there is one. But this is the problem, you see. We're consistent. We are consistent. No two religious people believe the same thing. So we can't really get a handle on it. So you have to break it down. You have to get every definition. And, if someone gives you a definition of an all-powerful God who's non-interventionist, who you can say, well, this is why that's wrong. But someone else can go, well, I don't exactly believe that. So you've got to start again,
And this time the Earth is 6,000 years old, not 4.
Yeah, I know. You can sort of rationalise in your own head. What I'd say, if I was hired to be PR for believers, so Christianity, I'd say, right, start saying the Bible is a beautiful metaphor, okay? I'd update it. I'd say all the language is a bit wrong, but we'll do it. I'd embrace science, religion, everything, and just say there is a God and he's watching you, but he's not getting involved. And I'd use mysterious ways. That would be my big weapon. I'd say no. Just because you don't know why he did that, all will become clear. That's their ace in the hole, that they can never be proved wrong because they'll be dead. That is their ace in the hole.
It's an unfair battle, isn't it?
Well, I remember when I was a kid, we had a guy come round and he was telling Bibles, and my brother was just winding him up. And brother said, so if I read this, will I be a good person? I'll go to heaven. And I said, well, yeah, this is what we're doing. It's sound salvation. And my brother took the Bibles and he said, I'll pay you then.
Give him nothing.
And he went, no, I can't take that. He said, I'll get in trouble. I've got to have that back. I'll get in trouble. And he just laughed. But there was that great website that sprung up to look after your pet after the rapture.
Yes, I saw that.
How beautiful is that? Just amazing, isn't it? That's just great. Yeah, well, I will definitely look after your pets. Payment, give me your money. You won't need it. Now, that should have made billions. Just like when James Randi said he'd give $1 million to anyone who passed under, laboratory conditions.
Yeah.
Anything. Yeah, he said there should have been a queue around the block, and there wasn't.
Yeah, I think he's still got that $1 million in his pocket, doesn't he? No one's taken
it. Yeah, yeah. Well, this is what I was saying about knowing. In a court of law, if it was like we don't know, then everyone would go free. If no one actually witnessed, if those 12 people and the judge didn't witness someone putting a knife in someone's chest, they would all have to say, we're all agnostic. So in giving the evidence, we say, but what's your best guess? And that's in a court of law. What's your best guess based on all the evidence as rational people? Well, he probably did it. So what you'd have to say to agnostics is, okay, we don't know. No one knows. You'd have to define what knowing is and then say, So there's no evidence for any God, or you would know, so what's your best guess? And surely they'd have to say, well, actually then, I possibly don't believe in a God. Because agnostics don't believe in a God. This is the point. They don't believe in a God, so they're atheists.
That's right.
That's right. Any agnostic who says, we don't know, by definition, doesn't believe in God, right? That's logic. And that's all atheism is. And this is the difference, because as intellectual as these agnostics are, they still don't really know that atheism doesn't necessarily mean believing there is no God. It simply means not believing that there is a God. So agnostic are atheists.
If there was a God to believe in, Mr. Oz Atheist, which God would you want?
None. Not at all. I do not like the idea on... I can get on board a little bit with deism, like, so a something created the universe and then left it alone. Again, you can't argue with that. Like, how would you know if that's your idea? Fine. But, like, none of the gods I've ever heard or read about, you know, the Yahweh, Allah combination, you know, however you want to deal with that. No, I wouldn't want one at all.
Godless spell checker.
It's a tough question. I mean, I can't tweet this link out enough, but there's a group of people who've created the God Checker website. I'm sure you've seen that.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely fantastic. Thousands of gods, different continents, different eras. These like the god of vomit, you know, the gods of fertility. All these anything infinitely more interesting than sort of an Abrahamic god. But I think I'm with Donovan on that. The thought of being ruled over. I think going back to what Ricky was saying, the fact that theists ask, well, if you're an atheist and there's no God and there's no heaven, what's the point? I see that as if there is a God and it's all defined and controlled and you're currently obviously ruled over 24/7, then there's no point to existing that way.
Yeah, and the God's already going to know what your outcome is.
I know, again, it's a house of cards. It makes no sense at all. It's like a sci-fi movie about time travel. There's usually a sentence in there that throws you off the scent for a minute so you can enjoy the caper. You know, if you break it down, it does it. It's ludicrous. There's been nearly 3,000 deities based on different beliefs, and their spirituality is for comfort, religion is for control. That's the end of it. You know, they're very different, and I have no hate for spirituality at all. It's just purely the philosophical framework. It doesn't hold water, and I have varying degrees of hate for various religions and their practices, and that's a lot more political and social, etc. Would I want a ruling God? I almost can't answer the question because it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make personally, going further, I am an atheist who firmly believes there are no gods and never have been, based on all the definitions I've heard of all gods and anything that has been. It's simple as that. They go from logical impossibility to wishy-washy nothing. They could be describing the weather. And it's interesting, you said about could there be a thing, etc. Well, there is. If you take out any sort of consciousness or will, we have this all-powerful being, and it's science and nature, how chemicals behave.
That's the definition I was looking for. I think that's the best one, science and nature, because it's something that we can see and observe. We can't predict it, certainly not on a small scale, but we can predict when stars are going to blow up.
But we know it has no conscious will, and that's what we have to take out of, you know, a God has to have a conscious will. Otherwise, again, people are describing chance and fate and all that. And, you know, once we get down to things blowing people's minds, they see us, we're centre of the universe, this intelligent, introspecting ape, and it couldn't be chance, because evolution they see as a will, and they see it as an impossibility. And they, you know, how many times have you seen with just the worst grammar and spelling ever, and sometimes caps locks on?
These guys are afraid of books, let's be honest.
I know, but they say my favourite one is if we evolved from monkeys, then how come they're still monkey? I don't know where to start with that. I do not know where to start with that. First of all, they're angry. They're angry that it might even be true. Why are you angry? Why are you angry?
They're angry at the monkeys sometimes. Like, how dare you?
I know, yeah.
I put one up this afternoon that said, so if monkeys came from humans, then Professor Plum in the bathroom with the bonobo.
Yeah, it's just and also they think evolution is like watching mould grow on an old cup of coffee. They're looking around, they're going, I've been to the zoo, and they didn't change. You know, they don't understand that this is like a snapshot of a billionth of a percent of a movement in evolutionary terms. They also give an evolution will. Yeah, and also I like the misunderstanding as well, but there's a level of evolution, like slugs stopped. They couldn't evolve. They were straining. They're going, no, we're just still slimy and sweaty. They were just watching amphibians go, oh, look at this, look at these legs. And they go, no, I can't, I don't know how to do it.
No. Just work on a shell instead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is funny. That's really funny. But, again, I usually tweet something back flippant like, if God made us from dust, why is there still dust around? The question makes no sense. It shows, it's the quickest way to show ignorance, I think.
I got it once and I actually answered it honestly, and I sent a couple of links to some evolution websites and a couple of YouTube videos. And the guy got back to me 3 days later and said, thanks for that. I actually understand what evolution is now.
Oh, wow.
So, given the real answer, like he was actually being genuine, like he wanted to know.
No, that's great. Well, that's the other thing as well, that people, if I tweet something about science, that counts as an atheistic tweet to some people because they know my agenda now. So I can tweet something like, oh, amazing, they found the link before Australopithecus. They go, why are you always going on? Why are you always bashing Christians? I want to go, whoa. Well, I'm just telling you
that the Australopithecus was a Christian.
Yeah. But it's this strange thing that they equate preaching with education. So again, everything has the same weight in worth. You can be preaching about the animals going into an ark 2x2, or talking about how they've isolated a gene for cancer, and they're treated equally. But if one's education, they both are. If one's preaching, then the other one is. And it's a massive misunderstanding, but always due to an agenda. I mean, that's some of this is willful ignorance. Some of this does need to be combated and ridiculed. But the honest answer of why I tell people I'm an atheist, not only because you shouldn't be ashamed of it, but there are people out there who think there's something wrong with them because they're told they are. It's like some people are oppressed for being gay and have to hide it all their life. And in terms of acceptance in some parts of the world, in some parts of the world, it's 2,000 years old, their treatment of atheism. But even in civilized societies, even in America, being atheist is sort of like being gay in the 50s or 60s. They're not being stoned to death, but there's a mistrust and a contempt, and it's a fundamental misunderstanding. Some people think atheism means you worship the devil.
Yeah.
I want to go, no, he's made up too. He's as mad. That's as mad to me. I know there's no hierarchy here. I'm not favouring anyone. I'm not favouring any god.
No, they're all equally stupid.
Yeah.
Do you ever come across the message, something along the lines of, hey, atheists, even Satan believes in God?
That's so mad! That's so mad!
Incredible.
Oh, God! Oh, that's the other thing. People say things like, oh, you sometimes say, oh, God. I go, yeah, it's just a word. It means nothing to me. Just sometimes it means nothing. Like, sometimes I say, oh, my giddy aunt. I never had a giddy aunt. Who cares? I get questions like, would you ever go to church for a wedding? Yeah, it's a big building. What's the problem? It's like, I don't have your superstition. So they think that I'm like Damien from The Omen being dragged into a da, 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 and I'm screaming because I'm the Antichrist.
They think that we think we're going to catch flame when we walk into a church. Like they think that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
it is.
Said. We don't have
well, of course, but
they're
seeing everything from their perspective. Yeah, it's very strange. The one that is, I think they sort of understand, and it sort of gets under their skin a little bit, when they say things like, why don't you believe in God? Which one? Why don't you believe in Zeus? They sort of get that. They sort of get it, but they still think we're being facetious.
They don't have the ability that, say, an atheist does to view all gods equally. They look at Zeus and go,
That's right.
well, okay, Zeus is rubbish. Who follows Zeus?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's very true. It's very true. They don't really see it as a fashion. This is a blip. There's been greater and bigger gods than the biggest ones around. They move, they change, they evolve. They things like, you're celebrating Christmas? Hypocrite. I go, you're calling Thursday, hypocrite. It's bizarre how we know that just about every holiday was invented by pagans that were then mugged and stolen and bred out. But it doesn't matter. You can't, when it comes down to this, is what I'm saying, all bets are off. If you believe in God, then that's sort of the end of it. All you can hope is that they believe in God and they still live a good, moral, kind, tolerant life. And what's strange is this general belief deeply held belief that you can't be a moral person if you don't believe in God, because there's no one to tell you what good is. That stuns me. That actually stuns me. That's such a
Because we've got a
such a
lifetime
strange
of experience to tell us what good is. It's something that we should be able to form ourselves.
That's I tell people, like, our morals, what we call our morals, they come from our empathy and our compassion and our understanding and, logic and reason. And they don't come from their scripture, because we know they don't, because it's different now and it changes. And, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years from now, it'll be different again. And,
well, of course.
Yeah,
but again, you see, we know that morality is part of our human evolution, psychology, secular society. We know that it existed before someone came along and claimed it. But some people don't. They think that God gave us goodness and morality. All these different rules, original sin. People don't accept that babies are born atheists. They don't accept.
Well, but yet they're prepared to accept that a 16-week-old fetus is able to masturbate. Did you read about that?
I don't know where to start. Oh, you've ruined my day. I haven't heard that one.
Have you not? Oh, you've been robbed. There was a guy over in the States who was talking about this. They took scans of, a smaller person being manufactured inside another person and went for the scratch, and that was evidence enough. He said you can't abort this child because he's clearly got a nervous system, knows how it works.
Again, abortion is a difficult issue because, of course, it's the woman's choice, and of course, if you're going to say that killing a clump of a few-week-old cells is murder, then so is menstruation and wasting your seed. But again, they can't see that because, again, they think we're being flippant and facetious. So even if we move away from that, it is a matter of degrees. At some point, it is a person with human rights. We have to understand that, and we as a society, along with doctors, psychiatrists, biologists, decide what that is for the good of everyone. And there is a certain amount of truth. There is an answer. But what I don't get is that extremist view where you have to have a child from a rape because it would be ruining a potential life as opposed to the one whose life it will definitely ruin. I mean, I can't fathom that. That to me is one of the most immoral.
But
I have to get it out of my head.
It's not only
Do you know what I mean?
life that's affected, it's also the knock-on effect of the family of that mother, if she's got other children or... the toll on society.
It's unthinkable.
Is enormous.
It's unthinkable cruelty. I don't get it. I don't understand how a politician can stand up and say, even in the event of incestual rape, you must have that baby because it's God's will. So God wanted this, did he? Do you really think an all-loving, all-powerful God would have allowed a father to rape his daughter and then a society frown upon her if she did not have that child? I mean, where is your morality at? It's stunning for me.
I saw one today that it said abortion from a rape does nothing but protect the rapist. And I didn't even respond. I couldn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the problem is we've let them hijack the term pro-life as well when it's pro-birth. Essentially.
See, if they can take pro-life, I think we should be able to take pro-thinking.
Yeah, I know. And the thing about pro-life, there's you said there, is a very good example of when that woman in Ireland was told by the doctors that she would die if she had the baby, but she wasn't allowed to have an abortion there.
Yeah, Sativa, I think her name was. She had an Indian name.
Yeah. Just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. That's religion.
Look, let's move on to something a little bit bubblier. I did want to get you to ask your heroes a couple of questions, Ricky. So, do you want to flick a question over to Mr. Oz Atheist or Godless Spellchecker? Is there something curious about them? Have you had this sort of sense of air and mystery about these guys?
Yes, I do have to ask. There seems to be an effortless, dedication. When I get up in the morning, and you've already been hard at it doing half a day's work. But Mr. Ozazi, I'm talking at the moment. What do you do? Do you search? Actually, to both of you. I mean, I know. Presumably, you put in atheist spell incorrectly, do you? And then find what you find and have fun with that.
It's that easy, and the results are in abundance.
Yeah, it's such a funny, lovely, arbitrary. It's like to me. It's like
going fishing.
It's like an art project. I love it. It's like a blue period by someone, and yours is just that E and the I round the wrong way. And what a lovely arbitrary reason. Well, it's not arbitrary because it says a lot, because I think I can tell a fundamentalist Christian tweet by caps lock and spelling and anger
and the fact that it takes them 8 tweets to make a single point.
I know, yeah. If anything starts off with you, atheist fag, then they're probably a very, very angry fundamentalist Christian from the United States. This would be my Columbo style detective work. No, but
no point to call him a faggot.
Yeah, but Mr. Oz Atheist, you have no real agenda other than the education.
So I search atheist and atheists. I did that initially to actually connect with others, like to see what people were saying, and then just saw this goldmine of material. And sometimes I'll respond with an actual answer. Sometimes, do atheists have to swear on a Bible? And I said yes, but we have to wear protective gloves. Just things like that. Just the ridiculous questions. You give a ridiculous answer. Someone said today, how could anyone date an atheist? And I said, well, when we have sex, we don't think our dead relatives are watching.
Yeah. These are genuine. The thing is, though, with things like that and some other ones, first of all, you think, wow, this person is so dumb, it's off the scale. I don't know where to start. I don't know what they're doing. I want to find them and follow them for the day and see what their life is, because they must be going in and out of bins. I don't know what they're... Do you know what I mean? But then I remember, well, actually, there's another variable here, and that is they see pop stars do these banal tweets, and get 50,000 retweets with, I hope you're having a lovely day, Team Jesus, and they want a piece of popularity. I did a tweet that got something like 40,000 retweets, right? But not because of what it was, but because of what it was linked to, really. It was during the tornado. I was helping raise, just retweet, I was saying to Red Cross, do this, people were saying pray. I was going, well, praying, yeah, but if you want to actually help, do that.
I remember that.
And then
tweet,
there was a tweet that said, Rihanna, Beyonce, and Katy Perry send prayers to Colorado, right? And I said, I feel like such an idiot now. I only sent money, and it made all the news outlets. That's because what actually made the news, it was divided. Half the people were saying, oh, how dare you have a go at people who are praying, right? Evil atheists, evil Satanists. Lots were going, that's funny, that's great, that shows you how ridiculous it is. Of course we need so that even Christians, a lot of Christians were going, yeah, you can't just pray, you got to do, which opened another can of worms. But most of them were saying, how dare you have a go at Rihanna?
After that
Twitter gives you every possible human response on Earth in that minute. That's why it's amazing.
You certainly did a service for atheism in doing that, because it came up so many places. Like you say, it came across all these different news outlets. How many people... Okay, there's the people who replied and got angry about Rihanna and, oh, you've offended me for praying. They're not your target audience. The people who you really want to target are the people who are listening, watching, because they're the people you can influence. And I think if somebody read that tweet or read the newspaper article and stopped and thought, well, hang on, when was the last time that I prayed and my clapped-out 1982 Daihatsu Charade turned into a BMW? Didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, they know that as well. I think they know that deep down, but, some people say, well, it can't do any harm. And you want to go, well, it does if you think that's all you need to do and then you wash your hands of the situation, then it does do harm because, mostly, no, praying doesn't do it. It doesn't do anything. So it doesn't do any harm. It does nothing. And unless you get into the act and the mission of moral act, and then it might be on the downside. They actually did a study where praying, medicine, a placebo, and a blind test where people who knew they were being prayed for didn't know they were being prayed for. And in every case, the people who were prayed for, whether they knew about it or not, didn't recover as well because it creates stress and anxiety. But that's neither here nor there. It doesn't matter. We know praying does nothing.
I often quote that study. I think it's a really, really, really good one to show people because the evidence is there. And you can drop that into a tweet and go, all right, you think praying works? Here, just have a read of this. While you're at it, have a read of what happens in the States when people don't take their kids to hospitals and just pray.
Of course. But it makes no difference. Because, again, most people say, well, yeah, that's terrible. I pray. They say it's thank God. And some people even think praying, they even admit that it's sort of a meditation. And I think, well, yeah, that's good. If you could sit down for 10 minutes a day and think about what you want, that's fine, but no one's listening. It's you're G'ing yourself up.
Just call it
you're like a tennis player. Of course, that's what it is. That's when so-called praying works, it's because you focused your ambitions, and you've had 10 minutes to think about stuff. That's we know praying's nonsense, right? But if it makes you feel better, then so be it. But I don't think it changes anything. I think people deep down know this, and some people don't want to admit it because they're so indoctrinated. I know people who are atheists, right? Or atheists now, they've thought about it, they're adults, but because they were so brought up Catholic or whatever, there's still a little thing in them that they don't really want to blaspheme, and it's just there's still a little residue of guilt. Do you know what I mean? Because you can be an intellectual atheist, but the sort of damage, for want of a better word, is done. They still got this hangover of all belief deserve respect again, and that was the cleverest thing that religion did. And now there's a terrorism involved that you can be put to death for blasphemy. I wish you could be put to death for criticising my work. You know what I mean? Anyone who insults the office, we're in trouble.
Look, I'll say it now. It's not your finest work. It was pretty rubbish, really. You redeemed yourself with extras, though.
Thank you. Well, you're not welcome in this country because this is an office state, and it's illegal to insult the Prophet Brent.
I've already done my penance in England. I lived in England for a couple of years.
Right.
Near where the location... I've only seen a couple of episodes of The Office, to be honest. It's not Slough, is it?
It is. It's set in Slough, yeah.
Slough. There's a big shopping complex not far from there called... Is it Blue Waters?
They're all over the place, yeah.
What a revolting place.
This is like you're talking about. It's like you went to Jerusalem and going, there's a wall and there was Bethlehem or something. I mean, you're walking on thin ice here, insulting Slough, and I mean, this is pretty bad shit you're laying down here.
So, godless spell check. I'll give you guys a chance because I think it's only fair. Have you got a question for Ricky?
I was thinking. I suppose before, when you have a joke or a thought, it sort of filters its way into a sitcom or an upcoming stand-up or a podcast. With Twitter, you've got like a 4 million strong audience in your pocket constantly.
Yeah.
Is that changing the way you write at all?
Yes, it has, yeah. No, I mean, I'll be totally honest. I went on Twitter as a marketing tool. Apart from creating the best work possible, it's a business as well. You do want people to come to your stand-up shows. You want people to buy your DVDs, and you want people to watch your shows, simply because then you get more money to do other things with them. And I totally admit that. It'd be, I don't write poetry and hide it in a drawer. I make programs and I want people to see them. Okay, so that's being said with minimum interference. So if you get a piece of the media, so to speak, 5 million strong, that's bigger than newspapers. So I can tell people, and it's the horse's mouth. Yeah, it is hearing it from the horse's mouth. So people hopefully believe what I say about me and when it's out, and it's a control of information. And with that came, I found that it's actually not just a great marketing tool, but a great market research tool. As I said earlier, I sometimes do tweet sort of in character, but not telling anyone. So I sometimes come across as quite schizophrenic. So I'll do tweet, and I'll purposely get something wrong to see what people notice. I'll do an ambiguous tweet. I'll do a contradictory tweet because I want to know how people deal with these things. Like, as an example, when I was researching for Derek, I went back and forth. I went back from really, really, what's the word? Sincere, absolute sincere, flat-out sort of kindness to something a little bit cruel, to see how people would... Because that helped me write the characters.
Secular Bloke, he was on the podcast I think you listened to previously. He mentioned that about Derek and how it's an emotional roller coaster ride, and it is very true to reality in some ways.
The experiment with Derek was to go again, to drop the veil of irony. Everything else I've done with The Office, extras, you wouldn't know, you haven't watched it. No, it's always been... We're laughing at the characters, we're laughing at the blind spot, we're laughing at the difference between how they see themselves and how we see them with David Brent and all those things. And this, I thought, well, what about a group of characters who were totally honest and said what they thought, and we knew what they thought, and there was no gap, and and that leads to sincerity, which sort of leads to drama more than comedy in a way. And again, some people on Twitter are totally sincere, always totally sincere, serious, doing the right thing, and then other people are only going for the wind-up. And this is a strange thing about trolls. They're not even trolls, but they're just... If I suddenly get an insult, like, you're shit, right? That makes me laugh anyway, because it's usually Y-O-U-R.
It's usually deep.
Yeah. But then I sort of go, well, who's this guy then? What's he done? I look down, and the 50 previous tweets have been, love the office, quotes from the so-and-so, please retweet me, and now he's just got desperate. So, and I think, I sort of feel that's a bit weird.
So is that how people get your attention, Ricky?
Yeah, and the number of times I've retweeted an idiotic tweet, with a put down, a comedic heckle put down, and then I've worried about it. I thought, I don't want him to get, I've stopped it now because I was being accused of bullying, because someone said something to me like, you faggot, die in heaven, right? I'm glad your family are dead. I do a flim thing. They get some stick. Suddenly goes, why is he bullying them? They've only got 50 followers. He's got 4 million. What? Hold on. How is that? Wait.
Have thicker skin.
I've stopped doing that. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And so I've gone to look, and I think, oh no, I delete that. I don't want to get any grief. And they've retweeted it, going, can't believe I got a retweet from my hero. I insulted you and embarrassed you in front of people. How is that? Surely, why is that better? Why is being insulted better than not being noticed at all? It's strange to me. It's very strange. Fame is everything. It's like fame is everything. There's no difference between fame and infamy. And I remember we had a famous serial killer here, and I forget his name.
Jack the Ripper.
No, it was more recent, and he was arrested. And as he was arrested, he said, I've brought the record back south, which is amazing. So he thought, I'm the best serial killer in Britain. And there was a little bit of regionalism.
Take that, man.
Unbelievable.
Oh, that's full on what gets some people going.
I know.
And
strange,
Mr. Oz Atheist, what gets you going about Ricky? Got a question?
Well, I'll say that I have watched The Office, and I wanted to thank you for Dawn coming back to Tim. I really liked that moment.
Oh, thank you.
At the end of The Office, yeah, that was good. No, I guess I wanted to ask, like, you now follow quite a few people who are tweeting the atheist stuff, and, quite a few that I follow as well. So I just wondered, like, how did we come to your notice? And I guess you sort of answered it before, but why? Like, what, you get the same interest out of it that we do, I guess?
Yeah, well, I do. I mean, I must say that it's really not an obsession, as you say. It's like, you're also an atheist, and there's loads of things that come before it, but when I get an idiotic tweet about religion and I answer it, you do get people saying, why are you always tweeting about atheism? I want to go, 1, I didn't start it. They asked me a question. 2, read back. It's 1 in 32. Most of these aren't atheist tweets. Some of them are tweets about, an endangered species of tiger. But, you think it's an atheist tweet because I alluded to evolution. It's like, you know what? I wanted to reward some people's bravery, and bravery is a strange term, right? I don't mean it, even that they're in a country where they might get killed for being an atheist, although some of them are. But I just can't stand this hypocrisy of people that, they accept that people go around in funny hats and wear crucifixes, and nearly every Western country has religious programs on every radio station, on every TV station. Everyone who wins an award says, thank you, God. And the one time I say at the Golden Globes, thank you, God, for making me an atheist, there was uproar. There was fucking uproar. And I want to go, right, let's break this down, okay? Everyone else thanked God for their award. This God that didn't stop the Holocaust, but that made Sandra Bullock win a Golden Globe. 2, it's a joke. It's clearly a comedic move on a play on words. Thank you, God, for making me an atheist, right? But actually, it's also a very good philosophical point. Because if there is an all-powerful God, why did he make me a fucking atheist?
Why didn't you get
Let's
smited?
think about that one.
Why didn't you get smited?
Yeah.
Well, Sandra Bullock was busy doing what she was doing, and Austrian basements were being filled up.
Yeah, I know. I do want to let people know who are atheists that it's a fine thing. I don't want to change anyone's opinion. I don't want. If someone said to me, "Do you think religion should be banned?" No. Everyone has the right to believe anything, however mental, right? So I wouldn't ban it. No. Why would I? They said, "Do you think atheism should be taught in schools?" No. Just if you educate, atheism is the logical upshot. That will happen. That will happen.
I think you can get away with it with morality classes.
Yeah, but yeah. Again, you know, morality is a movable feast. There is no absolute morality, nor should there be. That's when you get into trouble. You know, things change, laws change. You know, and that's why in the Bible there's nothing about being kind to animals or, you know, the equality of women. I did a tweet the other day, again, that got retweeted. It's almost as if the Bible was written by sexist, homophobic men as opposed to a loving God. You know, it's the morals of the day. It's funny because when I think of the people who wrote the Bible, I think of these angry men, right? These women-hating men who are not getting enough, and they're going, right, we're going to change it. God just told me. What? God just told me this. I mean, like, what's his name who did Mormonism? He comes home and tells his wife, God just said I should have more women. You know,
and make some of them 9 years old, please.
But it's so obvious. I'd always thought that you know that sign in swimming pools that says no running, no bombing, all sensible things. Then there's one, no heavy petting. And I always thought the bloke who did that caught his girlfriend snogging another lifeguard. So he just added that one.
No,
and there's always an agenda with someone who makes a set of rules, you know. And I always think of the person who put in you can stone your wife to death if he has it off with Harry, who lived next door. Well, that's a bit specific, you know. And it's just so obvious to me that how the Bible was written.
It's like you're describing the god of the pool enclosure, because the guy who wrote the sign is probably the same guy who has to clean the pool filter. No heavy petting, please, guys. Mop and bucket man to the pool.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Oh, so what was the question? Oh, yes. Well, you know, I do it for fun. I do it for because sometimes it's irresistible, like prodding a little ant's nest. Deep down, if I'm being honest, I don't want to change anyone's opinions, but I do want to let a kid in Texas know that he's not crazy and he's not evil and he's not mad that he doesn't believe in God.
The talking snake.
He's probably a sane, normal, irrational person who can grow up and enjoy life and accept the world for what it is. And everyone around him who's telling him he's going to hell, he's not. You're not going to hell, because there isn't a hell. So be nice and enjoy life.
Well, Ricky, I think you're doing a wonderful job for atheism and making it cool.
I don't know about
single-handedly making it cool. Because it's an aspirational view, and you're so clear and concise when you communicate it. I think it's a great thing to be doing.
That's the other thing, isn't it, as well, which might be the mistake of Twitter or might be pure prejudice again, is that this phrase, gender, with the terminology people use, is angry atheist. I don't know any angry atheists. I don't know any. I know lots of angry believers. I know lots of people who want to send people to hell for being, you know, immoral and gay, and I don't know anyone who just happens not to believe in any God going around being angry all the time. I don't know who these people are. I'm the least angry person I know, and I think it's because, you know, a tweet is curt and basic and reduced, so they don't know that I'm actually probably having a drink and sitting around and having a laugh while I'm doing it and smiling as I press send. Yeah, that's another myth that has got to stop. That, you know, we're all desperately angry with the world. The other thing is that, why are you so angry at God? God doesn't exist. How can I be angry at a thing? You know, I don't think I can be blasphemous, because that's ridicule. I don't believe that they exist. It's not on my agenda. I can't be blasphemous. And when people say things like that, the worst one is whenever I have a go at something really horrendous that's happened in religion, a group of paedophile priests have raped 30 people or something, and I say horrendous. People say, "Oh, what's the matter, Ricky? Were you abused by a priest?" Like, I'd be the idiot if I was. I'm the one that should be ridiculed. Yeah, shut up about it.
Yeah, it's all the past.
Well, no.
It's all the past.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. Yeah, like, it's going on again about being raped by a priest. Get over it, son. It's like again. It's like, this is upside down. Surely you should be having a go at priests.
Well, there's no priests on Twitter. Their hands are busy elsewhere.
Oh, yeah. There's a strange part of society. People want to punish the weak, want to punish victims, and then the other side of it is people who use bully so readily and incorrectly now. I mean, it brings down and undermines real bullying. Like, you're a bully if you tweet. I don't at anyone. I just tweet something, and they say, why are you trying to force your views down people's throats? What, people who follow me? What, the only people who can read this is people who follow me? I'm forcing my views. It's literally impossible to force your views on someone on Twitter. So that inflammatory, ridiculous language of this new wave of people who think they're the police guarding our morality against humour and free thinking. It's pathetic, but it's always been there. It's always been there. It's just now everyone's got a voice, and I do like the equality and democracy of Twitter. I think it's the best social network for that, because sometimes with sort of forums and that, it eventually gets taken over by a small sort of prison wing gang. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas Twitter, everyone's up for it. You know, not necessarily the truth will out, but the most popular view. Everyone has their chance to be part of it. It is everyone's gets a vote.
Yeah, I like Twitter in the way that you can just create your own very concise feed. You can go, okay, I want to go really heavy on the atheism. I want to go maybe 10% on the theism, just so I can keep my hand in and see what's going on in the unreal world.
But they also, again, misunderstanding and terminology and lack of education. People think freedom of speech means the right to say what you want, means your right to be heard as well. It doesn't. It doesn't mean your right to be heard. It certainly doesn't mean the right to be taken seriously or your right to believe. And you know, I encourage blocking. I encourage blocking for any reason. Rudeness, boredom, anything, block it. And they think, well, that's censorship. No, that's not censorship. Turning your own TV off isn't censorship. Going to your neighbours and turning theirs off because you don't want them to watch something you don't like, that's censorship. I'm fighting a losing battle, really. And if I had one wish, I'd want everyone to understand the burden of proof. Then I'd die a happy man. I just want everyone to understand the burden of proof.
Godless spell checker, is it going to happen in our lifetime, do you think?
Not so long as these people, I would imagine.
See, how did he do that?
Tweet that shit.
That was
you
great. That was great. So concise. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Why is that though? What's our need? I did a movie again. You haven't watched it.
Who are you again? Why are you on this call?
It's called The Invention of Lying, and the main twist of it is that because he can lie, he tells his mum that she's not going to enter a world of nothingness. She's going to go to the best place ever, and of course he invents heaven. And I really do believe that there may have been good intentions with spirituality, and then it got mugged by religion.
Well, it's hard to make money out of spirituality, just as spirituality.
Yeah, exactly, and gain power. It's more about power than money.
And you've got to put the fear of God into people. And you mentioned something right back at the beginning of the podcast about brainwashing. And what you want to do with brainwashing is break somebody's worldview down and then build up a worldview that you want them to live in and experience. And that's why people are driven to keep women in basements for whatever reason. And brainwashing it occurs on different levels. You want different outcomes. So there's priests in the church and they're doing dodgy things with kids. And brainwashing is part of it.
But there's something so suspicious about dogma by definition, isn't it? That which never be questioned. Well, you know, imagine that in any other walk of life. Someone comes to your door and goes, I've got a suitcase here full of stuff. It's £1,000. You can't look at it. Do you want it? Well, no, I don't. No, I don't.
But if you go to hell,
you can't look at it.
If you don't buy it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's just believe this. Never question it. Just do it, and But what an amazing reward! You know, your everlasting life. You know, you can see some parts of the world that hope. You know, hope is everything to some people, and some people want me to make me feel guilty about denying people hope again, which is a strange. If something's, I think truth is always good, because if it didn't have that crutch in the first place, we wouldn't have to worry about telling them Santa isn't real. You know, I don't want to spoil a 6-year-old's Christmas by running and saying your mum bought all the presents. But imagine if that child is 35 now and skipping around going, Santa's coming. You want to go sit down, mate? This is weird now. But that's exactly what people do with gods, and you know that it's no different.
In doing so, and you don't even get presents from a real god. At least Santa has the decency to bring you some presents.
I think deep down they know. I think people deep down, it's like why you don't go to the doctor. If I don't go to the doctor, he can't tell me I've got cancer. Atheists, at the end of the day, are bringers of really bad news. It's a case of shoot the messenger. You know, we didn't write the message. We didn't make the message true. Reading it or not reading it doesn't make the message not true. All we did is deliver the message, and now we're the ones in trouble because we let the cat out of the bag. You know, there isn't a heaven. This is all you've got, so make the most of it. And people go, well, I didn't make the most of it. I wanted the everlasting bit. I didn't make the most of this, so shut the fuck up. And that's I think that's
Got
it.
that.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Got that. All right. Well, is there anything else you'd like to plug? And Ricky, you can just pipe down for a second. I'll let the other fellas have a crack at it.
Yeah, go away. Yeah.
Mr. Oz Atheist, anything you'd like to plug?
No, not really. Anyone listening's probably following me already. But if I get some new followers, that'll be cool. I've got my blog at mrozatheist.blogspot.com, so if people want to give that a read. But yeah, that's about it.
You've put up some pretty impressive stuff up there. It's been a good read.
Thank you. Yeah, I do. I get a lot of good feedback on that, which is encouraging. It makes me want to write more and continue with it. So yeah, I really like the blog. Twitter's great, and you know, you say you're off the cuff comments, and you know, every now and then I'll get a bit philosophical as well. But the blog really lets me expand on ideas and, you know, get out, you know, more than 140 characters. So yeah, I quite enjoy doing that.
Yeah, okay. And Godless Spell Checker.
I just want to say a big thank you. Anyone, especially Ricky as well, for just quadrupling the amount of people my tweets get to. But anyone who engages, it's just constant laughter and learning, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, I've got to say, I think it's blown us all away, Ricky, that just off the cuff you just turned around and said, yeah, sure, why not?
But I've got to thank you guys as well, because I think people assume that I think I know it all, and I've learned stuff from you guys and thought about things. You know, I mean, genuinely, I've learned stuff. You know, facts that that I didn't know from your tweets and your blogs. But what I must say about Mr. Oz Atheist and Godless Spellchecker is I was intimidated by them. I thought, who are these people? I mean, to me, you were tweeting. It was your tiny tweet. The world it opened. You were like a colossus. I thought, well, who are these people? They're amazing. They're doing this in 140 tweets. They're coming back with this arbitrary agenda, and I just couldn't work out how you were possibly doing it. I thought I'd better up my game here because you know you know what I mean. These are just people just with a Twitter account, and I was thinking, well, are they Richard Dawkins? Are they Sam Harris secretly? And this is their funny. So I must say that I champion you all the time, and you know there are people like you, but you are the original two for me, really. So I must say I'm slightly embarrassed by the thanks and praise, because it's, apart from my followers, my number of followers, it's sort of the other way around for me. So cheers.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it.
It's a really nice thing to say. Well, I'll give you a shot.
You sound surprised.
Well, no, I'm just. I think it's fun. I've had now. It's just so cool that it doesn't matter who we are. We can be nobodies, we can be somebodies, we can have millions of followers or none, and we all sort of think along the same lines, and it's all just come about via Skype and a couple of tweets. That's all it took for this to happen, and I just think that's really cool. It's changed the game, hasn't it? It's changed the game, and it's not just sort of social network, and it's everything. You know, there's people getting in contact with me that DM me now, like Degrassi, and you know these amazing sort of thinkers, and you know, hi, I'm doing a documentary about Feynman or Sagan. I go, wow, you know, it's strange because they probably wouldn't have equated me with that just by, you know, knowing I was a famous person that was interested.
it wouldn't have got around to it. And now it's in your pocket. Do you know what I mean? You've got your Rolodex is now everyone with the same interest as you on Twitter. It's remarkable. It's a universe. It's a universe.
Indeed it is. And on that very poignant note, you've been a wonderful audience. Thank you very much for coming to my humble show. And
absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it's the time has just flown by so quickly. So thank you. I'll give out some Twitter hashtags. So we've got @Mr. Oz Atheist, @G Spellchecker, and @Ricky Gervais.
The unholy trinity.
Righto, guys. Thank you very much for coming, and take care.
See you later.
See ya.
Thanks.
Cheers, guys. Bye. How's it going?
Extra good. Thanks for caring.
Yeah.
I've got some.
It was more reflex than genuine concern.
You're a gentleman. You're a gentleman. Now I have some guests here for you. I have Mr. Oz Atheist and Godless Spellchecker.
Hello.
Hello, Ricky.
Hello.
How you going?
How's it going, man?
Yeah, it's very good. Thanks for joining the call. Appreciate it.
Oh no, I'm looking forward to it. It's a chance to get some things off my chest.
Because you don't have an adequate forum with Twitter.
Well, yes, it's an adequate forum, but it's like shouting out of a window. You're not quite sure. I was going to use a biblical term. I sometimes feel my seed falls on stony ground.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I feel the same way. I've been trying to get Ray Comfort to respond to me for months now, and I'm not having any luck at all.
Yeah, I know. It's funny, isn't it? Because I use the word. It's depressing sometimes about the stupidity and in terms of not spirituality but in religion. The mind numbing sort of. I want to use brainwashing. I mean, obviously, I don't know that they some people have been brainwashed, and again, I'm not talking about the average believer who goes about their day and think there's a God and, there might be a heaven and all that. I'm talking about the crazies, the fundamentalists. It's sort of depressing. And you get to the point then that you feel sorry for them. And there's a very interesting thing on Twitter about how much misunderstanding there is. Now people just blurt out their ideas. They've got a forum now and they do. I'm sure people don't actually read tweets before they react to it. It is nearly a reflex. Louis Theroux, who's probably our biggest sort of social documentary maker. He famously did a show about the Westboro Church. He did a thing about white supremacists in America. He did a thing about survivalists. So he tweeted this link about some of the kids who have grown up and left the Westboro Church, and they're sort of destitute. They're cut out and they're trying to be good, and now they're pro-gay and everything. They're really turned. They were in a cult, and I retweeted it because it's getting funds for them to start their life, right? And the amount of people who went, no, they're nasty, they're evil. No, wait, they were victims of a cult. It's really weird that they can't get over that fact that they were kids who were brainwashed and made to wear T-shirts with God hate fags, and they grew up and thought, oh, this is wrong, and now they're trying to. But it's so strange how in a Venn diagram, if you looked at a Venn diagram of all the different attitudes on Twitter, it would just be a mess. It would just look like. Do you know what I mean? Everything would you'd want to get in one of the categories, but you wouldn't want that line cutting through you. It's so strange. There's no clarity, and we're victims of this as well, because once you say you're an atheist, it's like you're saying that's all you are. They count it as the biggest thing about you, which is very strange. I've noticed.
It's an identifying trait, isn't it? It's pretty horrible.
Yeah.
I get that a bit. Like someone will say, why spend your time doing this? Don't you have a life? And I think, I send out a few tweets a day, but I do other stuff. And I've even tweeted a couple of times, I'm not just an atheist, I'm also an atheist, just to try and get that message out.
Yeah, and it's such a strange thing to be accused of being obsessed with. A regular tweet of mine is, You're more obsessed with religion than religious people. Well, that's because religion affects me. I mean, it's like saying to a detective, "You're more obsessed with crime than some criminals." Yeah, I am. Yeah,
but you've taken the time to study it, and this is what a lot of atheists have done: is actually read the Bible.
Yeah, well, I obviously I didn't choose to. Well, I sort of did choose to, but it's because I was told that this was all true. This is how the earth was created. You know, mostly it was the New Testament, and I thought Jesus was brilliant.
That's a good book, the New Testament.
Well, yeah. What a lovely metaphor. Well, you've got to cherry pick, of course, but you know, a man who is kind, he cares about the poor, he accepts people with their eyes, not judgmental. There's a massive reward. I mean, it's the best reward you could have. You know, everlasting life in a place where all your loved ones live, and you know you can eat ice cream, and
you get to wear a lot of sheets.
Exactly, yeah, just wandering around. But you know what I liked about Jesus growing up was that he was a man. That's what I liked. That sounds weird. No, I mean,
we've all got needs.
I mean, I didn't like the half godiness. I liked a bloke being really kind and standing up to tyranny, and you know, I mean, that's what I liked about him. He was sort of like a revolutionary hero, and then you know, by the age of sort of 8, 9, the myth was sort of blown for me. I think you're right. I think a lot of these people haven't even read the Bible. They just accept these truths, and the biggest truth is the worst thing to be is an atheist. I think that's the golden rule.
Well, we've got a fine selection of heathens here on the line today. Look, what I might do, if I can just be really rude, is just do a quick introduction, introduce you, because we didn't get that. We kind of dived into the deep end at the beginning.
Let's start again. Well, I've said nothing of any import yet. Let's start again, I'm just warming up. Start again.
All right. Well, I've got my radio voice on. Let me just cup.
Great.
I'll just cup.